Hey there, Outliers. Niiamah Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting me be a part of your journey. Today, we are bringing together another amazing Outliers Edge panel, a roundtable of incredible outliers who are building their businesses, their impact, and their gift to the world in a way that's aligned with them. I cannot wait for you to dive into this conversation and get to know these incredible people I'm getting to know. What I like to do here is give each of you an opportunity to introduce yourself, let outliers know about the game that you're playing right now, and then once we do that, we'll go off and start with the first set of questions here. Why don't we start with you, Dr. Toni? Want to bring us in?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, indeed, we can.
All right. So, I'm Dr. Toni Robinson. I am a licensed mental health therapist, and my background is pretty much in anything and everything mental health related, families, couples, children. I'm a victim advocate as well. I am also an Army veteran, so I've served in the military for 13 years, and I enjoy doing the work that I do, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you for your service and thank you for being here. You know? All right, cool. Aditya, why don't you go next?
Sure. Thank you so much. First of all, Niiamah, and to the Outliners Edge podcast for bringing me over here with this amazing panelist who are here with me. My name is Aaditya Mehta, and people call me Eddie, and I'm a article writer, an author of a ebook, and also I have my own podcast, which is Personality Development, where I talk with Harvard professors, MIT professors, leadership coaches, and many more people, so that people can learn more about these things. So basically, I have built a bridge between the learners and the experts of the industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for making the time to be here. And I'm really excited to bridge your knowledge with the outliers here today. That's awesome. Rashakim.
Yes, yes. Rashakim here, Rashakim Hudson. Call me Ra for short. I am Father Torch Inc. I work with fathers primarily. My target is fathers dealing with mental health, parenting, and as well as self-care and well-being, mental health, in all aspects of mental health, I should say. I am not the cure, but I help them find their strength to deal with their cure and to deal with themselves. I am an artist and freelance photographer. I I work primarily in the community, mostly. I want to say I create, like Eddie, I create bridges of communication and understanding, and Father Torch is a brand that speaks for itself. Is meant to share the knowledge, and the knowledge meant to be passed on in, torch of what's that word there? It's like a, I don't know, the rites of passage. Yeah, so it's like a rite of passage.
I love it. I love it. Well, it's great to have you on here. Thank you all for like outside of this space, bringing what you bring to your communities, to your audiences, and to the people that you serve. Like it's impactful. And I'm glad to bring that into this space. Yeah. So each of you brought up. We were talking a little bit beforehand, and one thing that came up as a pretty consistent thing is that each of you you're very passionate about what you do. You give a lot in what you do, but you're also like involved in a lot of things. You talked about having your hands in a lot of different things, or like feeling like an octopus or spider that's bringing it all here. And when I think about outliers, we are multi-talented, multi-disciplined, and multi-passionate leaders, and to bring that out to life with a vision that most people don't see, you know. And so to bring that out to life, we are actively involved in things. So I'd love to bring us here to start us off in conversation around like how you all like manage that. We'll start it off in the broader terms, and then as it goes on, we'll get a little bit more specific. We'll get into like some of the systems you have and so on and so forth. But we'll start with that. Dr. Toni, you actually got us. You're the first one to talk about about the octopus. So I'll be really curious about like how you go about managing that. Or maybe manage is the wrong word. Like maybe it's too small of a word for what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you have a passion for what you're doing, the work that I do, first you have to love what you do in order to extend yourself. And just kind of recognize that there are a lot of areas in the community that need mentorship and people like us, and setting some of those boundaries for yourself, right? Yes, I can extend myself to a lot of different communities, but I also have to make sure that I'm taking care of my own well-being and my own self-care as well, so that I'm being effective to the population that I'm serving. So I think, just overall managing it, it's just about the passion that I have, but also being able to kind of take care of myself a little bit so that I'm being effective in those areas. So, yeah.
Is there anything that you do in particular that you find to like take care of yourself? And this might not be like a thing that outliers need to do, but I'm just kind of curious for you. Like, what's one way that you feel yourself that way?
Yeah, I recognize where I'm at. If I feel like I'm at a place where I am getting a bit too overwhelmed with my passion, because I love what I'm doing, um, I tend to pull back a little bit, take some time off for myself, um, tap into some of my own coping skills that I enjoy doing. I like to skate, I like to work out. So I put my self-care as a priority. And I think that's important. Sometimes we want to do so much in the community and we're kind of pouring from an empty cup instead of practicing what we preach, right? And ensuring that we're doing the things that we're asking other people to do. So I think that's important. So a little bit of accountability on my part to practice what I preach in layman's terms. So, yeah.
I appreciate that. Thanks for bringing us in with that here. Eddie, how about you? How are you handling like the different things that you have yourself involved in and your own version of the octopus?
Sure. First thing, what Dr. Robinson over here said, and that's about passion, right? I mean, passion itself is a big word. And I would tell you this, I have recently learned that passion actually means to suffer. Okay. It's a big word, right? And the thing is, when you have that passion, you automatically get a surge of energy in you, okay, and you just manage things very easily, and it just really comes to you very easily. So I'll give you an example. When I used to work in a company, and at late night I will record the shows. I would record at around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. at night. And after a whole tiring day, I suddenly feel the surge of energy into me because I'm doing something which I really, really love. Okay. And I'm very passionate about it. So that's one thing for sure. That's what Dr. Robinson highlighted there. But apart from these two things, I do understand that, apart from passion, of course, you have to do two more things. Okay. And that is learning more and more things related to technology and learning to delegate. Okay. So, number one thing, what I did was when I started my podcast, I learned to edit my podcast. Okay. And although now I don't edit it, but previously I used to edit. And the very first thing which I thought that this is really a real pain, that to edit your podcast and listening to 1 hour 2 hour episodes again and again, like approximately 3 to 4 times. But later on I found out the thing which I was doing in 8 hours, that got completed in 1.5 hours as well. So that's one thing, learning technology and learning new things so that you can be more productive rather than doing all the hard work. And the other thing is learning to delegate. Okay. And by delegation, I mean, okay, like when you delegate it to the people, you have to give them that ownership as well, that you do the way you want to do it. If you need any help, you contact me. Otherwise, you have a free hand, you do it. If I find something really not doing well, then of course I'll step in. But other than that, you go and you do whatever in whichever way you want to do it, right? So these are the two things which I believe has really, really helped me to become more productive and to handle all the things which I do. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and like just being able to step back and let someone own the result there. And I think that everyone here has some element of like like things that live beyond themselves. And I'm thinking about this here in Outliers, that like as you're thinking about this, where might you be able to let go, delegate appropriately, not abdicate. So I'm not saying that, but where might you be able to let go in order to get more support with all the various things that are necessary for what is taking place? Love it.
I think in this type of work, you have to let go of the ego.
Yeah. Oh, tell me more. Help us with that.
Well, because a lot of times when you're in this type of field of work, whether it be writing, mentoring, teaching, right, or even just having a listening ear, a lot of times isn't needed. Sometimes that you want to fix or control what is perceived to be broken, and part of listening is that you have to humble your urges and humble your wants, because your wants is not their wants, or their needs, I should say. So you have to be able to articulate what exactly are you identifying with, right? What exactly is happening with you. And letting go of the ego means you have to humble your pride. And humbling your pride, you have to stay focused on the mission or purpose of why you're doing this in the first place. It gets tangled up very easily because it's like 3 seconds. It comes quickly. And when you're just passionate about what you do, you find yourself less of a compassionate energy, because if you're compassionate, you be more mindful. You are more mindful. But when you're just passionate, is a problem. It could be a prohibitor or enabler, or it could be a blocker. It could be it could be exhausting. In the biggest term, it could be exhausting. I'm sorry, guys. My little friend here is.
You're good. You don't need to apologize for anything.
My little friend heard my voice, so she ran downstairs. But
yeah.
But
if you're listening to this, we have an awesome little dog that just came into the mix here.
Yeah,
showing some love.
But is calming down your ego is very important, because we can often hurt our own drive by doing so. Because when your ego is bruised, it can be very discouraging, or you're doing it out of your emotional distress versus compassion, love, and understanding. It can get confusing if you're not understanding the definition and purpose of why you're doing what you're doing.
I love that. Dr. Robinson, I saw some like very quick nods from you right away. So I want to see if there's anything else you want to add to this part of the conversation here.
Yeah, I mean, I to your point, both of you at this point, I think compassion, that was a really good, I never saw it from that perspective. We can be so passionate about something that we sometimes lose focus of our goal and what we're trying to do, right? So I think having that balance is important.
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that makes a lot.
Thank you. That is very important, and it's something that I teach my youth. Them, despite how big they be, I teach them to have compassion versus just a passion for things. When you're passionate, you're not mindful of who is affected by what you want. Yeah. When you're compassionate, you're more mindful that, okay, if I do this, how would it affect this, or who would it affect? Because if your plan is to get things positively, then you have to be mindful of that. Who might be hurt by what you do? Which there's always someone gonna be hurt of what you do, because it doesn't matter how good it is to you, because to them it's like, oh man, you didn't think about me, So there's that that the ego gets bruised now, right?
Yep.
Why am I doing this? How come? And I shouldn't do it this way. I should go about. Hey, calm down.
So I like this area here. I want to bring in some of the other things that you all are like bring into life, right? So and Eddie, I'm going to come to you on this one here, right? So you talked about a number of different projects that you put together. You have the podcast. You're like working and doing this at like 1 a.m. in the morning. You have like the book that you have and such. I'm curious here, like, what's your take on almost like the approach to it? Were all these things happening at the same time? Did they happen like in succession? It's interesting to talk to someone like after some of the work has been done, and I'd be kind of curious about like the pathway for you. Like how did you handle the multiple projects you have going on?
Oh, wow. Thank you. And I believe that's a great question you asked. Honestly, I don't have any sort of balance that, at this
Thanks for
point
being
of the
honest about
time.
that. Like,
Yeah.
because you come on this thing and they'll be like,
I
well,
mean,
I woo-saw. It's like,
I mean, I really believe that there is no balance everywhere. It's all about blending rather than balancing. Okay. So I blend things together. So what happens is, but at one point of time, I'll be doing one thing. I won't mix it up with anything else. Okay. So that's one thing which I always keep in mind. But the main area, what I do is I look at the priority. Okay. Like what is urgent but not completely urgent, like it's not completely necessary to do it today, and what are the least important things. So I do note that down, okay, that these are the things which I have to do. Now I don't have any sort of time, okay, like in the morning I'll be doing this, evening I'm going to do this, and at night I'm going to do that. Nothing like that. I just see what are the things which are very urgent right now, it needs to be done, I'll be doing that. And after that, I'll be going to the second phase, like what are those things which are not so urgent, but it can be done very quickly so that I can just get it over with. And then there are certain things I know that can wait, and I'll move it to the next day, or I'll move it afterwards. And if I am really up to it, and if I really want to do it, I have some energy into me to do that, I will definitely do it. Otherwise, I'll move it to the next day. So yeah, that's sort of what I do in my personal life. But it's really important to also manage the things which you have in your personal life. Okay, this is all professional, this is all passion and everything. But then you have your personal life as well, where your mom needs you, your dad needs you, your relatives, your friends need you, etc., etc., etc. And I have been into many things. So I'm the LinkedIn community. I'm basically in the LinkedIn community as well. I am into podcasters community. So there are many communities which I am in, and I do provide my support over there. So over there, when that is there, I'll make sure that all the other things are done so that I can completely focus on that. So these are certain things which I do. But yeah, I mean, priority is the real main thing which I focus on. What is the topmost priority, and I'll work on it.
I want to thanks for that idea. Like, I want to kind of expand and like go continue down this path, but I realize there's like two elements of this, especially when we're talking to leaders, right? There's one part of this that I feel can be like a um project management, a productivity conversation you have, and also like a bit of like wellness component, like how do you keep yourself good? Um, I get really curious because I find like, especially with like high performers, at a certain point, you can't squeeze out an additional percentage. You know, you're recording episodes from 1 to 2 a.m. Like, is it going to be like 2 to 3? Like, is that where you're going to get it? You're not going to get the edge from there. And so the the thing that's coming to me is more about energy management. And being able to look at the things that what are your processes that you found out that work uniquely for you? Um, and I think it's actually like I want to hear about what you do to manage your energy, but I'm actually a little bit more curious, actually a lot more curious about like how you came to discover what worked for you, right? Because like outliers are all going to have everyone here is going to have a totally different thing about what helps them with their energy here. But when you had to go through the process of figuring out like what fuels you and what drains you inside of the work that you do, how did you go about like figuring that out? Dr. Robinson, would you mind starting us off again on with a response on that one? And if you're like, I want to chill back a little bit, let someone else answer first. You let me know.
Yeah, okay, I'm off on you.
Yeah.
So I think, the work that you do is in my particular field, it can be very draining in the mental health field because I'm pouring so much out in, podcasts and in sessions and communities and family and friends, all the things, right? And I think that, when I begin to see that somebody is getting just a little bit of what, we are pouring out into our clients, our family members, our individuals, I think that motivates me to keep going, just a little bit more. And I look at results, right? And I think that if I was able to change your mind about suicide, or you were able to pick up a coping skill, or you were able to phone a hotline. All of those things fuel me and keep me going, and motivate me to continue to talk about suicide prevention, and continue to look to other people like you guys to tap into and obtain some resources, and some psychoeducation on different things. I think it's important that I'm able to see that small window of change in people that kind of keeps me going and keeps me motivated to do the work that I'm doing, because this field that I'm in, it's a very daunting field. Uh, but there are more, they need more people like us, especially people that look like me as a woman of color, right? So I get that a lot. So that's a part of my motivation too. Being an African American woman, which is a very small population in the mental health field with a PhD, and having people to advocate and be a voice for them is important, and it keeps my process flowing, because now I know that there are people who are looking at me. So when I walk across the stage, there's another African American young boy or girl that can see me and say, hey, she was able to do these things. So I think representation keeps me going, and being able to step in rooms where people don't normally look like me are able to do those type of things. So it's a lot of motivation, going on. But I think those are important for me, as it relates to what kind of drives me and keeps me going. And getting up every morning or doing podcasts when I'm tired, because I am a mother as well. So I think seeing my daughter, um, tell me, I want to graduate from college like you, I want to do the things that you're doing, keeps me going and motivates me.
It's hitting me right here as you say this. There's some things about you saying that like personally resonate, and then at the same time like reminds me to look for, at a mentor, he said, look for the glimpse of genius in people, and what I hear from you is like that, those small windows, those small things that keep the feedback loop going, as well as being like representing and stepping into something, like being a part of something much larger than yourself. And I just so you know, like so it doesn't go off into the ether. Here's your small window. That has really impacted me, and it's making me think. So I appreciate you for that, Dr. Robinson. Rashakim, yeah.
I just want to tell you, I'm gonna have to jump off here.
Okay.
But to piggyback on Dr. Toni, everything she said was on point. Is to manage that energy and the manage it, especially when you are flying low. It can be difficult, and sometimes, believe it or not, even misleading, because it will make you feel that you are wasting your time.
Yeah.
You have this innate feeling of sorrow, a bit of sorrow. That feeling of, I'm trying, and it's falling on deaf ears. But the thing is, if you know every ear you catch, would you really do what you do? Because the thing is, once you get comfortable enough to say, hey, I reach 1, 2, and 3, you start to pull back and relax, and then you start to sit back, and now your bass turn into a tremble instead, and trembles turn into a sound, a wave, and your frequency will go lower, because you feel as if you are reach your pinnacle. But if I didn't know, and I had no idea, not to say that I didn't know anyone listening, but if I didn't have no idea that someone is helping, or someone is hearing what I'm saying, or someone is connecting to what I'm saying, it keeps me motivated. Because in my mind, or I should say in the mind of this field, is that I need to do this so someone can hear. Now, don't get me wrong. It's good to have that feedback, like, hey, man, what you said reached me, that, and there's always the one. It's never really a lot. Just the one that say, you know what, I like what you said, or I heard what you said, what, that really saved me, or that really, that did it for me. Or you witness someone transition themselves from one thinking to another, and you say, yes, this is why I do it. So I look at it as a farmer mentality. And I say farmer, I mean, I only plant the seed, give it earth, give it water, and let the sun do the rest. I do not look back to see if it's growing. I don't watch it grow. I know it's going to grow because I did my part without ill content, with compassion, and I did it with truth, and I guess no ego. So now I know, I'm confident that will grow. Now, how will it grow? But it depends how I come back full circle and water it again, right? How I come back to it. But if I just sit back and okay, I'm watering it and watching it, I'm watching it, and watching it, it's not gonna work. That defeats the purpose. And that right there, that I don't care what person you be, what client, what kind of client, when you are that way, they see that. Because either they work you or they put you to the ringer. Either way, but they see it. It's not authentic. So to see people like you, look like you, strive, and you can witness it with your own eyes and ears, is a great passionate way and a great way to balance your energy when you are flying low.
I appreciate that. And you, like, if you have to take off, we talked about this year, please do.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Outliers have gotten some time with you in this space. You don't have to say anything. You can just drop off when the time happens.
Okay. So
yeah.
I will do it. And again, I thank everybody. Please stay in contact. I love this. This is beautiful. Again, when it happens, we got it. So when you're ready, I'm available. So let me know.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much here. You know, Eddie, Rashakim just brought up something that I thought was pretty interesting. He said he brought up the word misleading, and it made me go like, oh, you know, like, I'm kind of curious from you, like, and I'm bringing this in here because this is actually me here. This is Niiamah here thinking where it's like, as Outliers, I've been going out, let me just speak for myself. I've been going out and trying out different projects and bringing people in, even the podcast panel. It's something where I was like, should I, like, this is a little different. I haven't actually done something like this in a while. Like, is this actually going to work? And throughout there's its own feedback loop but it's just me, my own doom cycle of is this going to work or not, right? And so I'm kind of curious for you, like, when something that well, you can share an example of a time where you thought you were seeing something, but the results that you were seeing were actually misleading. Like, it was actually working much better than and where's the time where you like really got rewarded for like staying the course and making it work?
That's a great question. I really appreciate your questions, by the way. It's really thoughtful. Uh, there is one moment when I started with the podcasting itself. Okay, so I started with solo podcasting. So first 9 episodes are all solo podcasting, and in the first 9 episodes, I just was having fun. Okay, I wasn't thinking about what's happening, what's not happening, and many more things. But when I saw the result, okay, I genuinely didn't felt that I am good enough. Okay, I mean, previously, approximately 7, 8 years back, I was dealing with social anxiety. Okay, I would really not dare to talk to people. Okay, and then I had camera consciousness as well. Like, I would never look in the camera. Okay, like bang on or never, never. But later on, I found out that I'm pretty good at it, because when the people started coming in on podcast, when people as experts came on the podcast, they were like, dude, you are too good. I mean, we didn't found anything, and we didn't found that you have social anxiety. I'm like, okay, now that's something new. Okay, I thought I'm not good, so I always ask people that if you can give me some tips the way I can improve. And they are like, dude, you are doing amazing. And after 3 or 4 seasons of my podcasting, I can see it. I can see a change in my numbers of the listeners as well, and that was really motivating for me. And after that, I started getting reviews on my Instagram and on LinkedIn that I really love your podcast. And one of them actually wrote that because I heard your interview techniques podcast, the next day I went for an interview and I got a job, and I implemented all those things which were suggested in the episode. So that gives me a real impact that, what, this is something which I really want to continue. Yeah, I mean, initially it was misleading. I thought I'm not good enough, but I just thought that, what, if I'm not doing it, I'm not going to improve in my personal and professional life. So let's just do it. Okay, if no one's going to listen to it, no one is going to criticize me either, right? So I just thought, like, let's do it. If someone criticizes me, I'm like, what, go ahead with it. I will learn something from it. So that was the mindset before. Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. I like one element is like it's like, look, I can do it, and if like someone has to listen to it in order to even criticize it, so we have to get past step one, right? And so like so that was that. I think that's really a freeing thought, and just like 'cause so many times like I find that I've stopped myself before I even got started, and it's like this is not even the hard part. You know, we're having this conversation right now. We're in a it's a relatively safe environment in the sense of like we know our internets are working. You're gonna be on Zoom. There's no one like responding to this right now. It's gonna come out into his podcast. I might bring some like relatively speaking, we can create this. This is not the hard part, you know. Then it's everything else that gets into it here. And so I love that component of bringing it out into the world and being like, hey, let me at least cross step one. Let me at least do my part and get to the place where like I get the if I get criticism, that is feedback that someone is listening. I think that's cool. I think it's a really cool. I love to like look at it and say, like, what are the ways that the things that we try and avoid that are actually the clues of our success? What are the things you try to avoid that are actually the clues to your success? Thank you for bringing this in. We're gonna open it up here. We're gonna just like kind of riff a little bit here. Dr. Robinson, is anything that's coming to you based on this topic here around like either the misleading or anything that Eddie said here or there? We're here. We're just
There you go.
unmuting. There
Yes.
we go. Yep.
Seems like I always have something to say. I thought that was really good because it taps into, a lot of mental health and the things that we believe about ourselves. And once we kind of get past some of those core beliefs, those negative core beliefs that we've had about ourselves growing up and our values and things that were instilled in us, because we come from our own cultures and our own ways of life. And I think that once you figure out who you are and address some of those beliefs about yourself, right? You can start to then work on the things that you said about your what was it, your social anxiety. So that social anxiety, so once you start identifying those things, like now it taps into the imposter syndrome. Like, hey, I was able to conquer these things. I had these particular struggles, but now I'm here. I can see the fruits of my labor and the things that I did to work on myself. So sharing those personal success stories are great as well to give to your listeners. And I think that I love the imposter syndrome because it always shows us, hey, I was able to kind of conquer these things, and I know that I can do it again because I've done the work, right? I've made an effort to make sure that some of the things that I would struggle with, I'm able to kind of manage that now, right? I'm not saying totally eliminate it, but I'm able to manage it now, and I can speak in front of people and be confident in the content that I'm putting out. So I think that's very important. Working on those pain areas and values and beliefs that we were raised to know, but we're all individuals now. So we have the opportunity to grow and to create an identity for ourselves so that we can help others.
I'm appreciative of this. This is probably gonna like you brought in something here. I think this will be the last like big question we have here, so we can end with grace. Yeah, yeah, Daddy, bring it in. Bring it in. I love this. Bring it in.
Yeah.
Bring it in.
I mean, one thing which I just want to add about Dr. Robinson said, I love imposter syndrome. Honestly, there is one person on the podcast which came. Her name was Ambika Vijan, and she told me that what is imposter syndrome? Okay, it's just a way that you are just getting out of your comfort zone. You are afraid, and that's fine because you are now getting out of your comfort zone, and success comes to those who get out of their comfort zone. So if you have imposter syndrome, you should be proud about it, be brave about it, and face it. And soon that will become your comfort zone as well. So, just wanted to highlight that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate this conversation because I look to these elements and I'll build off the imposter syndrome thing right now because as you're talking some parts of me I'm like, oh, like like these are like some of these are like beginner things, like we know this, like we come in there, it's like, oh, they're not beginner, they're the basics, they're the fundamentals. And every time we step into something new, we might have to face this.
Yeah.
We like and so as we're talking I'm like, this is it. Like this is everything becomes possible from the components of being able to get these basics down. It's the same system over and over and over again. And I want to call that out here because like I do think that like as outliers, whether we're writing a book for the first time or making our podcast for the first time or going out to our community and say and being called a community leader and being like, well, me, I don't know, I just thought there was a need and I just went and filled it. Like there are these areas of growth and learning that we have. And we came in this conversation. I'm like, oh, the conversation is going to be like, maybe about systems and like focusing on leadership and things. But I think that like there's an important system of growth. The important system of growth that's taking place here. Y'all brought in imposter syndrome, and it made me think about something one of my mentors says, which is like basically I don't know, actually I don't even remember what he says nowadays. I think I'm making it my own. We'll see if I need to go back and attribute it to him. His name is Rich Lippin, so let me give it to him. You can go look up his things. But generally speaking, it's like if you're feeling imposter syndrome, then you're doing something right when it comes to the system of growth. If you're not feeling imposter syndrome, then for me, I'm like, you're playing at the same level. You're playing at like, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are thinking that the next level, you're going to go to some higher state and not feel some level of imposter syndrome, and you might not feel it directly. You might go and say, ooh, I need to go hire someone to teach me how to do this. Or, ooh, I need to go into a program and learn and learn what the process is. That's all fine. But it's those components that end up playing in there. And it's almost like you don't feel imposter syndrome when you're not growing, and whether it lasts for a minute or it lasts for 10 years, there's a component there. Why don't we wrap up with that? Any last thoughts on the imposter syndrome? And then what I want to do is make sure that everyone has the chance to like continue down your journey. Anything feel good? All right. I'm seeing that people feel complete. Yeah, go ahead, Eddie, please.
Just one last thing. If you have imposter syndrome, just go ahead and try that. Okay. You will recognize that that thing is going to come easy to you. Okay. If not easy, you will recognize that you are working on it. Okay. You definitely can work on it. Okay. Because normally in your formative years, you didn't knew English or, any other language which you were learning, but you learned. Okay. Because there were people around you who used to speak that language. So if you have an imposter syndrome for trying out something new, number one, do it. Number two, find a mentor to give you certain guidance. And I'm sure these are the things which are going to work out for you 100%. Thank you.
Well, I thank you because like underneath all this here is like we're talking like this, and it might seem mindset, might seem mental health, but in here, both of you have brought in like, but there's also action. It's in the doing that you get a chance to reframe. You get to not even reframe, not imagine. You get new evidence that gets you there. And I want to just really thank you all for like having underneath all that this undertone of like, and then you take action and you start to see, you start to learn and you start to get better. And then eventually you come back and you look at it and say, how did I can like, I remember when I used to be like this and now I'm in a different place. Yeah. Well, I'm really grateful for you. Outliers, if there's anything in this conversation that really called to you, please go ahead and share this with someone in your world here. Let them know what like the amazingness of the conversation and why you thought of them, and just make sure that like they get a chance to keep growing through your generosity here. What I'd like to do is make sure that all the outliers here know the best ways that they can continue down a journey with you. And then so if you can share that, and then also share with you the insight that you got from them. What's something that you are taking away from this conversation? If the answer is I'm not taking anything away, that's fine too. But I like to wrap up with that here and give us a place of closure from there. So Eddie, why don't we start with you, and then we'll go to Dr. Robinson, and then we'll conclude for today.
Sure. People can get connected with me via LinkedIn. That's one place I'm really active. And that my name is Aaditya Mehta. Okay, that is Aaditya. Aaditya Mehta, Mehta. Aaditya Mehta. And if you are on Instagram, I'm active on Instagram as well. So all you have to type is personality development podcast without spaces, and there I am. Okay, so please do that. And yeah, these are some ways to connect with me, or you can just email me, and that is adi4193@gmail.com. Okay. Apart from that, what I'm taking away today, okay, is something which Ra said earlier, that you have to let go the ego. Okay. I believe that was really, really a strong statement. And of course, then Dr. Robinson added that, you know what, with passion, you sometimes, get that sort of excitement and you lose everything in your mind, and you sort of have that ego. So, yeah, I mean, the let go of ego to be a strong leader. So, I mean, that is one thing which I'm definitely taking away from this episode today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eddie. And then Dr. Robinson.
Yes. So, real quickly, you can find me on Instagram. I'm pretty active on Instagram. My name is Dr. So Doctor, with the period, underscore T Rob. So I'm a pretty down to earth doctor. So you
Yes,
call me
indeed.
T Rob, Dr. Rob, T Rob. Outside of that, my email address is drtonyrobinson@gmail.com. Pretty straightforward. And one of the takeaways that I really appreciate this platform and what you're doing, is that we're all able to just coexist. Like there is room for everybody to um impart into this world and find our purpose. And I think that's important, that we can connect with people, that we can share some commonalities in our walks of life, and being able to just pursue those things and meeting people. We're able to coexist, and I love that. Now I have three new, connects and network that I can work with you guys moving forward. And I think that's awesome. So let's just continue to coexist together and impact change. So,
And there we have it. Well, just know that I really appreciate each of you. Thank you so much for making the time to be here. Thank you for sharing your experience, and thank you for going out and getting experience and showing up as leaders in your own world. So we really respect you, really appreciate you, and honestly, just please keep doing what you do. Be you on purpose and journey on.